The Andante movement of Clementi's Opus 36, number 1 in C is very challenging. It goes by so quickly, and you have to make a statement of beauty in a short amount of time. Now, what holds this piece together, almost the glue of this piece, is the recurring triplet, and that strings the piece along in a very flowing way. And so one has to keep in mind that that flow continues between the hands as well as just in the left hand in the beginning. The dichotomy, however, is that there are some places where you have parallel sixths that, in my edition at least, do not have the slur. So in that place, you have the challenge of playing repeated sixths, 3 at a time, without sounding like a riveter. And so when we get there, I'm going to suggest that you listen through the 3 as one note, principal note, carrying you through each group of 3 instead of 3 C's and 3 B's. And then in another place, there's another challenge where you have parallel thirds, but that's a little different than having repeated sixths. Now, in the beginning, I would suggest that you block out the chords, and you know that the harmonic rhythm. You should know the harmonies. You're in F major here, which is called the subdominant key, because the piece starts in C major, and it's in C major, but it diverges over to F major in the middle movement, and then comes back to C in the last rondo movement. So I would start blocking with a very supple wrist without pedal. And try to balance your voices as best you can with the piano you have. This one is awfully hard to balance, so I'm hardly hearing the F. And then an inversion of that. To the dominant chord and back to the tonic. I wish I could hear the F here. So this is a weak note on this piano, is the bottom there, F. You should continue going through the left hand that way. Watch your fingering. Here's your tonic. And then single notes. There's a little crescendo here to this. That's the second inversion of F, and then dominant, dominant, and then dominant. So you want to go through that whole left hand. It's really not that complicated. It's a single voice. It's not doing that much. Now you're rolling through this chord, this broken chord, so you want to have a sense of fluidity. How you get that is have a rolling wrist forward, so you don't get You get more. So that's what you want, very fluidly. Now be careful here to connect down to the octave pair. Now, in this next little spot, the left hand continues on into the right like this. You have to be careful that you don't separate that left hand figure from what's continuing into the right hand. And so that is the follow through into the other hand. And you have the 4 chord doing that in measure. I don't have measure numbers in the second line. You have 4 chord. So again, you want that fluidity across. So that's what you're aiming for in this movement. The other challenge in this movement is the ornament. And they give 2 directions in the footnotes. One is a simple ornament. That's an upper neighbor and then rolling down and coming back, using the upper note to start the trill. So when you get to that first trill, after the F, you can either do the simple ornament, but roll it. Don't hear too many taps and too many pokes. When it's curve it around. Now the longer ornament would be nice to have because it gives more like sort of like a gem-like quality to it, to decorating the note. You're decorating G. If you could pull off the longer ornament, there it is. Now because this piano isn't regulated, it's sounding very top heavy on the A. I'm going to put the soft pedal down just for the reason of trying to equalize that out. There it is. If you can possibly do that, it's really a nice, gives the piece, it's that extra piece of class that you're looking for, that wonderful kind of gem-like quality. So whenever you have those ornaments, you can choose to do the shorter one in your book that most likely will have it written for you, or add some repercussions. And they show you specifically and they're using 32nd notes instead of 16th, so they're adding more repercussions. The other challenging place is the repeated sixths, where you suddenly have no more legato and you have repeated sixths. As I say, you don't want to type them out. So how do you do that? Let's see if we can lead in from this. Here they come. Now I listen for the C and the B. If you notice, I kind of skimmed over the remaining sixths. I think of C, B, and then this is a suspension or appoggiatura. That means that the this note is clashing with the bass, which eventually results into resolution. Breathe in. Okay, so the solution to those six is to think C to B, not C, 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 B, B, B. Go across. That's what I do musically. The other place that diverges from this triplet motion, that is legato, is the consecutive thirds that occur toward the end of this short movement, where he goes this, finishes a phrase. Now here, bum bum chi da dum bum. So da da tu. You don't want da da da. You want to avoid that. How do you do it? You think of more notes rolling with your wrist under them, and that's kind of, you have to get that. So this is down, up. Now ta 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 da da ta forward, down forward, down forward. New impulse, and then you come forward again. So that's how you get the phrasing of that, and that's tricky. Then you have the very last part, the very last few measures, you have more repeated thirds. Now you've had repeated sixths, now you've repeated thirds, and they don't have legato marks on them. So if you want to actually be literal about that, you also don't want to hear da 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 da. You want to hear the flowing line is to this, to this. And there's a crescendo there. I think of B flat as the principal note, A is the principal note, G is the principal note leading to this. Now again with the trill. So. And it's very hard to get that trill. But going back to these thirds, think of them this way. Ta So that's basically it. There's different components of this movement. It's a very difficult movement to play. I've recorded it many times already. I'm not happy with it. So in the beginning, you want that sweetness. Now it doesn't go that slowly. It's Andante, but Andante is not that slow a tempo. And considering that you have these rolling triplets, you don't want to get bogged down in very slow rolling triplets. They allow the movement of the right hand, where you get this. Notice that ta, because that's an F Z. Then here comes that. Little development section. There are legato marks there. breathe.